Hello, everybody. I'm Michael Monaco.
And I'm Bobby Sal, and we are the Hazmat Guys, bringing you knowledge and insight to make your job a little bit easier and safer.
Let's take a minute to hear about today's sponsors.
Hey, have you heard about the Decon Field Guide?
Oh, yeah. The First Line Technologies, the DFG, has everything that I'm looking for in the field of emerging threats.
Yeah, the DFG has a brand new look with updated time-saving resources such as instructional videos, guidance documents, dwell timings, FAQs, even a ton more than that.
You're preaching to the choir, man. I've already been using the guide documents and the instructional videos on a bunch of classes that we're teaching throughout the country.
Yeah, so simply download the Decon Field Guide app to your smartphone or tablet to access the full threat library, step-by-step instructions, and instructional videos. Download the Decon Field Guide app today. You can find it on the Apple App Store or Google Play.
Let's get to the show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hazmat Guys. Episode 247 to be exact. I'm Mike Monaco.
And I'm Bobby Salverson.
Yeah, look at us. Just tearing it up once again. Last week we were not able to finish up our episode of the Mailbag, and so we had to dig even deeper on this one. Part deux.
Dis.
As they say. Yes. But if, as custom in our show, what shows are coming up?
Well, we got that
Maybe Cold
one
Zone?
Then don't forget about and
Yep. And no, your record, the radio is not cutting out on you. Those are empty bits of space there. But I will say, the university is crushing it. Bob Kosh put up like another 3.
and Kosh's ones are good. They are good. You would think for an old man getting into new technology, they wouldn't be that good. But I love the guy.
Mary had a lamb.
Is my program on?
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of stuff, and actually, I'm recording 2 tomorrow. I don't want to tell you what they are, but this should be operations level and above. It should be really some foundational kind of stuff, and Mike is working on stuff too. But
yeah, I'll share mine.
We don't want to give away too much.
Well, I'll share mine.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, absolutely. We're working on a fully functioning, totally 100% virtual operations course. And yes, you will be able to virtually get signed off on your competencies.
You do that? Blasphemy!
Blasphemy! So for all you fire departments out there that are totally wigging about how you're going to get an operations level class pulled off, reach out to us. We'll get you signed up.
Yeah, we have some ideas. Yeah. So the one that we couldn't finish up, and I think this is an enormous one.
Definitely.
Because there is so much to unpack on this thing. Should I read it or you want to read it?
Go ahead, you read it.
All right,
I think it actually came to you in
yeah. I don't know whatever. Anyway, I'll read it in my my radio voice. I always like to dust this off every once in a while to keep it all polished up.
the non-Scotch voice?
Yeah, good evening. That's sultry is what they call it. Anyway. So they responded to a report of a gas leak, and I think it was a person who was losing it, whether it was psychological or whatever it was. But they have a meter that shows 4 things, and one is for natural gas. Now, we'll come back and unpack that because it's not exactly true. We'll come back and talk about that. There was no gas, and there was no smell of gas. But here's the question, that they've been on calls where there was a smell and still nothing on the natural gas meter. I hate that natural gas meter.
I know.
It's a meter.
I know.
It's called a meter. How do I know if I have a gas leak if the meter isn't picking it up?
Right. So clearly this is not a technician.
No, this is an operations guy, and I think a lot of this is small pond fishing, I'll say, where everybody calls it the Hearst tool. Well, no, it's made by Hearst, but it's actually a hydraulic spreader.
Right.
That's technically what it is. So, when people start calling things, we call, Halligan. That's probably.
That's because it would be forcible entry tool.
Yeah, like a pry, whatever. Anyway, they understand.
Hopefully.
But yeah, hopefully. But here's the thing: is that they have a gas meter that measures 4 things, and one of them is for natural gas. I assure whoever this is, it is not a natural gas meter.
Yes, that is.
I could reasonably bet the farm on that one.
First and foremost, you are not picking up natural gas. If you happen to have this meter with you at like a car accident and it starts to go off, it's not a natural gas leak.
Right. So let's just pull this back a little bit here. The standard 4-pack, and we're not talking about Europe. This is United States, America. We have a standard 4 gas meter. The standard 4 gas meter comes under CFR 1910-146, which is the confined space standard. And the way that works is that in the United States, they are supposed to monitor for oxygen, carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide, and flammables or explosives, whatever you want to call it, whatever the manufacturer calls it. So what he's conflating the natural gas meter is actually just a regular run-of-the-mill LEL sensor.
Yeah, and this is a prime example, and we touch about this a lot on the show, about how you take a generalization and you start to apply it to multiple things and it fails, right? So this guy probably has only used this meter and it's only gone off for his entire career when he's been inside of a building, a structure, a dwelling, and there was a natural gas leak going on.
Right.
And probably everybody that he's worked with or responded with is the same way. So it's just easier and to generalize and say natural gas, but then it becomes confusing when there's no natural gas being read and you clearly have natural gas in the room.
Now, I will say this. There is a good thing about this is that the meter was probably calibrated. All right, what calibration means is that we say, hey, the meter says, I got 60 here. And I go, no, there's 100 parts per million here. And he goes, no, I see 60. No, make that 100. And it just slides the thing and says, okay, now it's 100. And you go, great. That's calibration. I'm oversimplifying that, but that's basically how it works.
No, I think if we had to like dumb down calibration, I think it's literally no different than one of those like dial scales, not the digital scales, but a dial scale.
It's doing an internal correction factor.
Right, you're basically putting when you calibrate a scale, you put say 100 pounds on it. And if it doesn't read 100 pounds, you take a dial and you move the needle to the 100-pound mark. And now you know it's calibrated. And when you calibrate a meter, you do the same thing. You inject it with a very specific, very, very specific levels of gases. And then you adjust the meter to those levels so that you know that it's within the ballpark when you go to read it.
Right, because these sensors degrade over time. So they are going to get more and more of the 0 point or the mark. So you have to continually move it. And at a certain point, the meter goes, dude, I cannot move anymore. You got to replace me now.
Yeah.
And so you just replace it. Now, I was getting to correction factors and calibrations is because the majority of these LEL sensors are calibrated to methane. Right? I mean, there are some. It used to be a lot of pentane.
A lot of pentane. But it was a lot of pentane. What would be a really interesting way to describe this? Pentane is good if you're a technician who has a really good understanding of the meter and you're responding to more than just natural gas. Pentane is good. If you're an operations and you're only responding to natural gas, then methane is where you want to be.
Right. So I'm going to say I'm kind of going on a I don't know the action on, but I'm going to say the vast majority of meters are calibrated to methane.
Yes.
So what that means is if I have a calibrated meter to methane and it goes in and I go in there and it says 100 parts per million, then the correction factor is 1. It's leave the number alone because anything multiplied by 1 is exactly the number. And what Mike is kind of going into is, let's say we go into a gasoline vapor. Well, the correction factor might be, and I'm making this number up because I don't even know what your meter is. Let's say 2. Okay, so if I have 10, now my real number is 20. That's where things start getting crazy.
Right, because 10 and 20, all right, that's not a big deal. But if we go up to 50 and 100, remember, that's 50% of the LEL, 100% of the LEL. So it starts to become a little bit kind of kinky when those numbers get bigger and the correction factors are wide.
So now this brings us into I think, for me, this is the meat and potatoes of the question is, there was no gas and no smell of gas. All right, so the meter had one thing for natural gas. There was no gas and there was no smell of gas. But here's my question. I have been on calls where there was a smell and nothing on the natural gas meter. How do I know if I have a gas leak if the meter isn't picking it up?
Because the meter is not a natural gas meter. The meter is an LEL meter.
Right. So, okay. The technology, speaking strictly on technology, is you have a catalytic bead. What I've also heard this is a Wheatstone bridge, which is kind of an archaic thing to say because I don't really think they are anymore. Although the catalytic bead might be
with the whole
with
the whole gluten-free movement, they had to go to catalytic bead.
Yeah, free range Wheatstones.
The Wheatstone is very. You get people that
grass fed.
It's allergic reactions. It's not pretty.
And you pay more for it.
Yeah.
You definitely pay a little bit more in the
We had a guy in the company who literally almost died because we still had a Wheatstone bridge. He swelled up and everything. It was horrible.
And I still don't believe him because he was doing it and he didn't know it was that. And then once he found out it was not organic, that's when he had the problem. I'm throwing the bullshit flag on the whole thing. But anyway, so okay. Now, what we're talking about here is a matter of resolution. I think that's what we can boil this down to, and maybe we can see where it goes. But it's a matter of resolution.
Right. And the natural function of what we're looking to achieve with an LEL versus a natural gas meter.
Right. So if we have this catalytic bead, and I think I explained it really quickly last episode, but basically it's a bowl of metal that's coated with another metal, and when oxygen and a flammable gas is there, it heats up on the surface, it oxidizes. That creates a temperature increase, which changes the resistance, and it uses a reference bead that's kind of locked up in a little room, and it says, well, the difference is 2. Put 2 up on the screen, right? So that's how your natural gas meter is running. The problem with it is that it reads, if I move my sensor 1% of LEL. Now, we've asked this question a million times, and I'm sure everybody's going to say out the name, but take a second. Like, put us on pause for a second. How many parts per million are in the atmosphere? Okay, we're back. It's 10,000, right? It's 10,000. So every time my LEL meter moves 1%, I have 10,000 parts per million of something that is flammable. Is it natural gas? Maybe.
The key is it's flammable.
That's it. That's all you know.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. It is not necessarily natural gas. And since our meter only reads in increments of 1%.
In that sensor.
In that sensor, right. In the LEL sensor, in the sensor that specifically is not looking for natural gas, but is specifically looking for lower explosive limit, most of them out there are going to go in 1% increments. So by the time my sensor clicks up to 1%, I have, at the 1% mark, 10,000 parts per million. Actually, no, we're describing that wrong because it is 1% of the LEL. Right.
So it's right. It's 1% of 1 million.
No.
Is 10,000 parts per million.
No. The LEL for methane is 5,000. So it's 1% of 5,000, which is 500.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. We're just going basic. I'm sorry. I'm conflating the two things.
Right. So it's not 10,000, it's 500. So for those of you that didn't go along with us, and this happens all the time, which is why we have multiple people and we do the hazmat huddle. The LEL for methane is between 5 and 15%. So if we're looking at 1% of the lower explosive limit, which is 5,000, 1% of that is 500. So
Right.
our meter has to get 500 parts per million before it turns around and has 1% on our meter. So our meter's not doing any of that. 499 parts per million, our meter's doing shit.
Right. Right. So 10%, right? And 1 part. Yeah, right. Okay, good. I'm just checking your math. I'm just checking it.
Yeah, no. Always.
So now here's the thing, is that sometimes you'll get your PID to go off. Okay, sometimes you also, and again, that might, well, I know it's not in your 4-gas meter. What I'm going for is resolution. The PID reads in 1 part per million.
Well, let's use a sensor that they would have on a 4-gas.
Then oxygen.
Carbon dioxide. Or
Carbon
monoxide.
Monoxide. Yes, that reads in 1 part per million.
Right.
Okay, incredibly small resolution. So your best resolution on, well, it's between carbon monoxide and hydrogen sulfide. Those read in single parts per million. Very fine resolution. Then you have your LEL, which reads, it's hard to say it's 500 parts per million on each click because that assumes you're reading natural gas. So let's just call it a generic 1% equals 10,000. Yeah, if you have your actual gas, then I can
do the calibration.
Do my real calculation, get my real number. But
even at the most, which is what, like 2 or 3, you'd be looking at 1,000 to 1,500 parts per million.
2 or 3 what?
2 or 3 factors, correction factors.
Right, you're talking about 1,500 on natural gas.
If it's calibrated to natural gas, yeah.
So like, if you just go to straight math, it's 1% of a million is 10,000, right?
Right.
You can convert that based upon your knowledge of the gas. The problem is a lot of times we go into things and it's unknown. I don't know what the hell it is. It's something flammable, right? And our worst resolution is oxygen.
Right. Because that's got some seriously funky math to it.
Yeah. That is the only sensor. Turn up the volume to hear this because everybody gets this wrong. It is the only sensor that is multiplied by 5.
Whatever you have on it, convert that to parts per million and multiply by 5.
Right. And one of our good friends, Paul DeLise, has this thing where he holds up his whole hand, his palm, and he goes, "Did you ever, as a kid, you draw a turkey, you trace around your fingers, and you make the turkey at Thanksgiving?" Everyone goes, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "Well, you got to push the hazmat turkey out whenever you get the hazmat in there." And we're like, "What?" So he grabs his thumb, and he says, "If I get 1% of my thumb," he goes, "the other 4 fingers got to go with it." And there's the hazmat turkey coming out. Whatever makes you both go. I think it's adorable. But everybody looks at him and goes, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. That works." But that's the only sensor that's like that. That's the only one that has for every 1%, which we just said was 1 to 10,000. Now it's 1 to 50,000.
50,000, right. So when you get deflections on your O2, you have tremendous amounts. You have any deflection on your O2 is going to give you the most amount of product in the room for that deflection. Right. Then the next down is going to be your LEL, and then you have your very, very high resolution single part per million increases. And there are some meters out there that will go down into the parts per billion. But that doesn't really answer the full question as to he's been on runs where there was a smell and nothing on the natural gas meter, right? So part of that was, one, it's not a natural gas meter, it's an LEL. But then let's talk about the smell, because the smell is what's confusing him, where he's going, well, I have this natural gas. And even if we wanted to call it an LEL, he could still turn around and say, okay, well, I don't get it. There still has to be some kind of flammable gas in the air because I can smell it. So why is my meter not going off?
Odor threshold.
Damn odor threshold.
That is the key. And this, and I can sum for all the firefighters out there that This is how I would summarize this. Go to the ladder company, open up their compartment they hold saws in, open up the compartment, stick your head in there, smell it. Smells like gas. Take a match, throw it in there. Does it go on fire? Nothing. Because humans pick up gasoline at parts per billion. And so we are like a bloodhound on that chemical. We smell gasoline from way far out.
Yep.
And so we are incredibly acute at picking up gasoline smells.
Just as we are extremely acute, if not even more so, with the chemical that is placed in natural gas so that we can smell it. And that chemical is called methyl mercaptan, and it is got to be one of the lowest thresholds that we can smell. I believe it's around 5 parts per billion, which means that you need the equivalent of, if you have 1 or 2 molecules of the mercaptan, it's
insane.
It's insane. But you were on that run. Were you just about to go there?
I don't know if we have enough time. Do I have like 3 minutes?
We absolutely have 3 minutes. This
All
is
right.
probably one of the most incredible examples of methyl mercaptan I've ever experienced.
All right, so a little bit of a war story, real fast, as fast as I can make this. I think this might be my first war story.
Officially.
Officially. All right. So we're coming into a major metropolitan area where a major metropolitan college is located, and for an odor of natural gas. And we're about 20 to 30 blocks away, which is probably 2 miles. I'm going to guess about 2 miles away. And the overwhelming stench of natural gas is like, holy crap, we have a big leak.
Huge.
To the point where when we're getting within a couple of blocks, we see people actually retching on the sidewalk because of the smell. So we're like, holy crap. So we put on our mask because we think there's flammables, but the meters are quiet. We haven't put this together yet. We get up into the lab. It is a major chemistry lab for a major college. And we get up there, and the professor's up there with his patches on his elbows. He's got his corduroy jacket on. You could tell this guy is old school PhD chemist, like he's been running the lab for 35 years, right? And we get up there, and the same lieutenant, the guy with the hazmat turkey, was working with us.
Just before you keep going, I
Yes.
want people to realize the smell was so strong that there were people that were telling us to shut our rigs off.
Yeah.
Like you cannot, like, we are clearly in some kind of major gas cloud, and people were actually trying to determine whether the gas concentrations were so high that they were just overloading the meter and therefore not picking anything up.
Right. I remember that. There was a good argument for that, but we quickly dismissed that.
Yes.
So we went up to the room, and there was nothing left. It was like gone. And what happened was that professor guy, the doctor, took ammonia and threw it on the floor. And so what turned out to happen was they spilt 2 liquid ounces of methyl mercaptan on the floor. Two.
That's like 2 shots of vodka.
2 shots of vodka on the floor, and it overwhelmed an entire half of a major metropolitan county. So, and you got to remember, this stuff is injected into natural gas, where like deciliters of this stuff is doing millions of cubic yards of this gas.
Yeah.
Like incredible amounts.
Incredible amounts. This stuff you can smell it in such small amounts that it's just, you can be overwhelmed and not even register something on if you've ever played with an FID, on your FID, which picks up almost everything in the air.
Right. So to close this story up, this is the funny part, is that our illustrious lieutenant goes, you really shouldn't just put chemicals on top of these things. You don't know what's going to go on. Guy looked at him straight face, goes, if there's something's going to happen, I write about it. We're like, you just got dismissed.
No, no. Because he literally is like he was the
world-renowned guy.
World-renowned leader on methyl mercaptan. He was like, you only know about it because I studied it.
I told you it. We were like, oh no.
Oh, so here we are, a couple stupid firemen, and this guy's like, yeah, no, I kind of know what I'm doing.
So, like, all right. So with this methyl mercaptan is that you are smelling it. They are smelling it way before your meter goes click once. And now, I didn't say it on oxygen, but it's mostly on oxygen. I'm going to track back to this so we can continue the conversation. There's something called dead banding. Now, they don't talk about this a lot. But let's say oxygen. We know that 20.9 is the oxygen sensor, right? And if I move it 20.8, well, then I have 10% of 50,000. I have 5,000 parts per million of something, right? Now, sensors, as they warm up, they drift a little bit here and there. And could you imagine standing on the sidewalk or even in a place and it goes down from 20.9 to 20.8? If you were a savvy hazmat operations guy, you'd be like, uh-oh, something's here. And I don't know who it is. Right? Let's say it goes down 0.2. Oh my God, I have 10,000. The manufacturers put in what they call a dead band, and it is, depending on the manufacturer, 0.1 to 0.2, plus or minus 0. They will just say, don't show them nothing.
Yeah, just let it
keep
be.
It. So now that's good because you don't get the knuckleheads that are going, holy crap, and call the cavalry out. You also, if you are a savvy operator, now if it goes down 0.2, you now have 10,000 parts per million of an unknown customer that's here before the meter even let you know that.
Yep.
Now, I don't think that happens on cat bead or hydrogen sulfide and all the other electrochemical sensors. I think they are basically just direct drives. I think the oxygen sensor is the only one that does that because, little known fact, if your meter is off, the other sensors are really off. But an oxygen sensor is always sensing oxygen. It's always degrading. It's always going bad.
Right. Whether the machine is off or not, it's being exposed.
Does not matter.
Right.
So I think with a lot of this stuff here that I think the old schnozzle is able to pick up the natural gas because of that methyl mercaptan way earlier, which is the intended thing. And correct me if I'm wrong. I remember something like there's like a certain percentage of the population that just does not smell methyl mercaptan. It was like a little bit.
It's a small percentage, but they are out there.
But there are some people, and there was a criteria for picking that gas. I don't remember what it was, but I'll have to look that up.
We should have seen if there was anybody not throwing up as we pulled into that run, and then we could say you
them.
can't smell methyl mercaptan.
So that's the deal, and you know what? That's not even the only one. Natural gas is one of those ones because we pick it up so early because it's engineered for that. But we'll also have that with like acetylene, right? We'll have an acetylene leak, and this is getting a little deeper into your meter. The same meter though, you'll get a carbon monoxide response and no LEL.
And sometimes a hydrogen sulfide.
Yes. So that is one of those cross sensitivities where the carbon monoxide is picking up in a resolution of 1 part per million. But my LEL, where I would expect to see acetylene, considering how flammable it is, shows nothing.
And if you're rolling your eyes going, God damn it, I hate cross sensitivities, then you aren't as experienced with the meter as you think. Because I think we have a whole episode on cross sensitivities.
Oh.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Hazmat Guys.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel at The Hazmat Guys, and take a moment to call our comment hotline at 843-628-1484.
And we are always looking forward to your feedback about information or interesting incidents that you were a part of, so send us a note at feedback@thehazmatguys.com.
Remember, guys, don't just get on the job, get into the job.